It's like he's trying to run towards love, but he's placed a parachute on his back that wasn't necessary. And I feel like we do that so often. So where are you placing that parachute on your back in the process of running to love? And what step are you going to take today to stop that? Welcome back to one's journey of unwinding the mind and, of course, your daily microdose. Now tune in to the latest episode of One's Journey. Let's talk about optimization. I did a video called Walking Stick versus Crutch, and it's really about using the tools within the illusion as helpers. This video I want to talk about optimizing because often I get questions of, Ashley, why do you eat so healthy? Ashley, why do you work out if none of this actually matters? Well, the fact of the matter is I live in this illusion. You do too because you're watching this video. So the vessel in which I operate through this illusion currently, this classroom, right? This is a classroom for forgiveness so that I can remember that I'm actually home. But this is my meat suit. This is what my movie is being projected through. It does sometimes have the ability to make things more optimizing. But the thing is, you can't place weight on it. So if I am sick tomorrow, I need to realize that my healthy body today is just as fake as my sick body tomorrow. They're both illusions. But I can still optimize the illusion. And that is when it comes into using walking sticks instead of crutches. So my spirituality isn't based on my body being skinny and healthy and eating whole foods and this or that. If tomorrow I started eating processed foods, yeah, my body would feel possibly a little sluggish and not the greatest because universally this illusion, that is the results of that from the mind, but it doesn't mean I would be any less spiritual. And in a past video, I mentioned that today we believe spirituality is tied to the sexiest, most buff, whole food eating individuals there is, when sometimes the overweight guy on the park bench is the most spiritual there is. So remind yourself that everything, whether it's optimized or not optimal, are equally fake. But why not optimize your journey and have it be the best it can be, the easiest it can be? So that goes to drinking water or not being on social media, watching what you're consuming. There was a period of time, and I was talking to a client about this the other day, where I was like, well, I'm on this journey to enlightenment, and if I'm enlightened and I'm doing good, then I should be able to consume social media, and it shouldn't impact me. And ultimately, when you're almost to enlightenment, you don't need water or food. And I just started slacking. I started slacking on the things that were optimizing my journey, and so it was like I was going against the river. I think it was Patrick brought it up. Actually, it was like a runner with a parachute on their back. Why would I have this extra weight weighing me down when I could do it without the weight? And it's hard enough as it is. So when we're looking at optimization and the parachute on the back, what areas in your life could you optimize, but also not place weight on them, right? Like my journey doesn't depend on if I continue to eat whole foods and drink water and not consume social media. I will still continue on my journey, but it's going to be a hell of a lot harder. And it's an understanding that your health is just as unreal as sickness. So either in the end, it does not actually matter. Like I said, it doesn't really matter, but you can optimize it. And I love that word because optimization is something that doesn't mean that something is or is not without it. It just means you're making it a little better, but it's still good. It's still great. And realizing that you're not placing weight, you're seeing the truth of it. So when we're not eating healthy, when we're not drinking our water, when I'm not limiting social media, I know it's still a part of the illusion, but I know that on this journey, it still activates my ego belief system, which is very difficult when you are trying to come from a place of the Holy Spirit. And I recently talked about that piece of being on social media and it being created by the ego for the ego. But there's other things you're consuming as well, like television, the people you're hanging out with. For a while, I thought, and one of my clients as well had this same concern, was that if we're on this journey and we're truly living from a place of the Holy Spirit, then we should be able to be around anyone, right? Because we're supposed to give our brother love because they are a reflection of us. But that you can take too far too and put too much weight on. It does not mean you should sit in an abusive relationship. It does not mean you should sit in a relationship that doesn't serve you. Oprah said one of my favorite statements ever: you can love a person and let them go. You don't need to continue to have that toxicity in your life as a challenge. Because I feel like it's the ego trying to creep in again to be like, all right, well, you think you're going to be enlightened? You think you're going to go on this journey of untying me? Well, then you should be able to handle my challenges. But in fact, it's just pulling you backwards. So it's this journey of 5 steps forwards, 10 steps back. And that's where I was at when I tied that parachute to my back and wasn't paying attention to the things that optimized my journey. And I turned into an ego mess. I had a huge breakdown and was super upset. When in reality, I was making choices that actually aligned with the ego. The ego was kind of challenging me and being like, you should be able to do this. You should be able to do that. So I'd be curious, is there areas in your life where you're intentionally not optimizing them because you're like, well, it's an illusion, it doesn't matter? Because that's being negligent as well. It's not about completely releasing weight, because in the process of going so far into this doesn't matter, you've placed weight on it not mattering. Just like when you make it so important, you've placed weight on it being important. It's that middle ground of it is what it is. I just is. God is. So be careful when you get into that slippery slope that myself has of, well, none of this matters. I don't need to drink my water. I can be on social media 24/7 because in the end, this is just an illusion and it doesn't matter. Well, this illusion is actually a classroom. It's a classroom to remind yourself, or to practice forgiveness, to remove the shame and guilt that you place there from this tiny mad idea that really didn't cause what you think it did, so that you can remember you never actually left home. So there is a very significant purpose here. And to me, it's more purposeful than when we thought this illusion was truth. This illusion is like the gates to heaven. I mean, like if you vision people standing at the gates waiting to get into heaven, or I think they've called it purgatory before. Maybe, like purgatory, where you're doing the things you need to do for that final step into heaven. So to me, why not optimize it and up your chances even more of getting to whatever level you're meant to in this journey and making it a lot easier? If I'm taking care of this vessel, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable journey than if I just completely stop and do what I think is releasing all weight, which is actually placing a shit ton of weight on it. Share your thoughts about, let's call this the parachute on the back. And I will post a picture as well, because there's a really great picture of a guy wearing a shirt that says love. And he is struggling, man, to run. So struggling. And he's got a parachute on his back. And it's like he's trying to run towards love, but he's placed a parachute on his back that wasn't necessary. And I feel like we do that so often. So where are you placing that parachute on your back in the process of running to love? And what step are you going to take today to stop that? Is it drinking more water? Is it lessening your time on social media? Is it paying attention to what you're consuming, both on the television or in your car? Let us know. Let's hold one another accountable, because it is so easy to slip back in, because the ego wants you to believe you should be able to beat that challenge and it shouldn't impact you. But I'm here to say, F that, it will. And we don't need those challenges. We're just fine where we're at. Much love, as always. Until next time, remember you are worth it. So grateful for you. Tons of love.